Right, so we've got a little bit more entertainment for you. I'd like to now invite one of our mentors, one of our lead mentors, to come to the stage. Tom Wood of Foolproof, and he's going to give us his keynote for tonight and hopefully tell us a little bit about what he knows about the world of startups. Tom.
Hey. Woo-wee! How about that? Man alive! And the pictures were good, right? You must be exhausted. Oops, I've got to talk for you today. I think it's part of my job to try and make sense of some of the things that have happened. A lot of crazy stuff has happened to us all across the last 3 days. And I think, let's get to this point. What am I doing here? I'll answer that question on my behalf in a few minutes, but I know this is a question that we all asked ourselves at least once or twice over the last 3 days. What am I doing here? I think I'm here because I've done something that's kind of relevant to what you were all thinking about. So about 15 years ago, I formed a company, actually a services company, in the digital product design space. And my company's called Foolproof. I grew that company, kind of carefully over the course of those years. We got to about 100 odd people, with studios started here in Norwich, but studios in London and then Singapore. And then a couple of years ago, I sold that business. I still work in it, but I sold that business, and now I'm rich. So let me wrap that up for you. In front of you, where am I pointing this, by the way? Anywhere. You have a male, white, middle-class, middle-aged member of the liberal elite, and also the 0.1%. So that begs the question, who the hell booked this guy? What were they thinking in 2018? But I think, like John, of course, invited me to do this, and I think his answer would be, you've probably seen and done in practice some of the things that we've been thinking about over the last couple of days. And could you kind of make some sense out of that and maybe give us some things to go away and think about when we leave here and wake up tomorrow morning and start to unpack it all for ourselves? So there's sort of three things about running or getting into a formation stage, the early stage of a startup business that I want to talk about and tap in on a bit. The first one is about the problem. I have this phrase that the first job when you're looking at a business situation is to explore the problem in all of its wonder and majesty. Like, the problem is the fun thing. We've heard some amazing stories about problems, situations that people have seen and want to do something about. And sometimes the problem seems simple, and therefore, surely it's got a simple answer, but that's often a mistake. So driving into and spending time inside the problem and understanding it, exploring it, having conversations about it, thinking about it, rethinking about it, is a really important part of kind of putting a business idea together. So the temptation is to start making something as soon as possible. All of you guys, many of you guys will have had the temptation on Thursday night. You're like, we've got a team, we've got an idea, we've got a first idea about how we resolve on that. Geez, we've only got 53 hours now. We've got to get a move on. We need to start making something. And that can sometimes be a mistake. So a few anecdotes on that. It was nice. I caught up with Seb Butcher kind of this time yesterday. Seb is, he's a code ninja. Like, this guy, can really make stuff happen. But he was sitting there going, I didn't want to rush into making something too soon, because the picture of what we're trying to make, who we're trying to serve, what our business, that's changing all the time. Is like the smart thing to do actually is do nothing. And then when we've got the right solution, we get to work on it as hard as we can, and we make as much as we possibly can in the time we've got available. So never be afraid of spending a bit more time in the problem than your instincts are screaming at you in the first minutes. I mean, we had that the great story from Kick about the story behind the Grant Holt video, if you'll forgive me, was this Norwich City legend basically drove a bus through everything that the guys had really put together about their business model and the way we're going to execute. And this is kind of yesterday evening. And that's tough, right? Some of the rest of you might have stories like that. It's like, no, hold on, we're coming at this at a totally wrong angle. And I mean, Grant was clearly saying, you have absolutely identified there is a problem here, but have you worked out exactly the nature of that problem and the way to solve it? And those guys had the guts, and it takes a lot of guts when you have a real body blow on the idea you're working on, just to sort of, okay, fine, we need to respect that feedback, we need to take it on board, and we need to go away and have another think about it, which they did, and put on a great show for us, so congratulations for surviving that. But maybe running into the solution a little faster than you needed to because you hadn't quite worked out what the problem was that you were solving. The second point I'll make is this rather gnomic. Know what you don't know. So this is about sort of mapping out and respecting the things that you either don't know about or don't know how to do, but nevertheless holding them in your vision so that you're going to resolve it. And this is a map, a very old map. It's like you could say, there's this thing called Africa, and it's kind of a big deal. We don't know much about it, but it's there. And if you want to go to China, you're going to have to just kind of figure that out when you get there. There is Africa. We haven't really figured it out yet, but it's there, right? America is not there. So if you want to go the other way, you don't know America's not there. You're going to bump into it. So there's this trick about mapping out all the things. Business model canvas helps a lot of us do this, mapping out all the moving parts, all the things we're going to have to fix or work on in order to come to a coherent solution, but not panicking as that list grows and grows and grows, and respecting the fact that list has to grow before you can move on them all. So the distribute guys, they were thinking about a massive problem, a huge kind of audacious kind of idea, and that's hold on. There's aspects of law and about banking and about kind of any number of how do we become a charity? You've got to get all those things out, write them down, but not worry about them until it's time to solve on them. So mapping out what it is we know and we don't know, and what skills we've got inside the team, and we can work on what kind of help we're going to need to get in from outside. That's a kind of important idea. And the third one, that links to this third one I wanted to raise, which is to be open to help and be open to helping others. I mean, this kind of this event is a masterclass in that most important discipline. I mean, it's just like, you can't be a successful human if you don't do this, but you certainly cannot start a business unless you practice both of those things. Being able to receive openly help and advice and critique and feedback, and also to offer help, that same kind of advice and critique, or time, resources to other people. Starting a business is to become part of a sharing economy, to trade, something that you can do for what something else can do. You've got no money, but perhaps what you do have is, time or skills. There was a nice example again with this with Distribute and My Valet. I think, you kind of just a short swap. You kind of like, you need some kind of accounting help, and you guys badly needed some design help. And so, the team's figured out, well, okay, let's swap and help each other get the things, get all the things we're trying to do done. The consequences of not accepting help can be really disastrous for a business. I won't, call out an example from this year, but I remember last year there was one team that really was just falling apart by the end of the second day. I mean, 11 o'clock on the Friday night, this team was nowhere. It was at war and was making no progress in what it was trying to do. It had resolutely refused to accept any help or advice from outside, any coaching, any idea that was brought in from outside of a very tight-knit group of people within that team. And the thing tore itself apart. The person, that was a pretty tough intervention last year that I was part of. The person who kind of presented the wreckage of that business idea on the equivalent night last year was Alex Menems, and he's here, as a mentor this year because people who've been through that kind of experience are really valuable. So I want to thank Alex for hanging on in there. But if you are not open to criticism or to help, and if you're not prepared to give help, make time to help other people, then you're not going to get anywhere. Okay, I'll get back to my theme. So don't tell my mother I work at a startup. She thinks I play piano in a brothel. There is still, even now, it was worse when I started my business, but even now there is a sense that getting involved with a startup is not quite a respectable thing to do. That it's the sort of risk that you're taking when you're doing it can be seen as cavalier. Is it serious? Why are you giving up a perfectly good job at X to go and take a risk and do something new? And I kind of want to encourage you that's not true, and it is a respectable pathway for some of you. Might be the right choice. Some of you will be thinking, some of you will leave this room, maybe get together tomorrow on Monday and actually start to pick up and drive on the ideas that you've generated here and turn them into a business. That happened last year. It may well happen this year. There are certainly some very, very good ideas that we've seen, worthy of that. But for others, you'll put it down and you'll kind of reflect on the experience and you'll think, okay, that was useful. I didn't think that was I'm not quite ready to commit on that idea. And I certainly played this game myself, that I kind of launched 5 businesses in my mind or in the back of a beer mat before it, and thought about what it would take, all the things I needed to map out and understand, what was the problem I was trying to solve, what help was I going to get in order to make a business happen. And I screwed up and passed on those 5 businesses in my mind before finally sort of being ready and picking the moment in order to start and have a crack at something and say, I'll give it a go. So I want to, I certainly, as someone who has started, grown and run a successful business, I had a lot of fun doing it, and I recommend it to you. And maybe your day job does pay well, and it's nice and safe and secure. But maybe there'll be a time when you might think about throwing the dice and giving it a go yourself. And if you do, I really hope that you do it here in Norwich. Now, like not dear old Norwich, right? The Partridge Effect and St. Delia there. We struggle sometimes, with our national reputation, and I think it would be very easy. Particularly, if you're a student, perhaps you're, kind of passing through. It's often very tempting when you form a startup to say, I will race down to London because that's where serious startups happen, surely. I kind of get that. But I'm going to just say that Norwich has a couple of unique advantages that you can take advantage of if you start a business and decide to do it here. First, it's a really lovely place to work. We got a lot of the pictures were about well-being and staying healthy in mind and in heart, and Norwich is a very good place to do that. I think the other thing about Norwich is kind of this, really. If you think about, I don't know how much sort of time or attention you've really paid to, who are these mentor characters, and who are these shadowy organizers and helpers and volunteers that are doing all this? I don't know if you've reflected on that. Reflect on it now. Why are they doing it? There's no money involved. It's fun, but it's something about a commitment to the community and the place where we all live and work. And we want to encourage all of the people who have given their time to make this event a success, including yourselves, are very invested in this place. And I think its best days are still ahead of it. I think there are very exciting things happening in the town. I think it's much easier to start, to run, to grow a business here than it ever was before, and it's getting better and better and easier and easier. And if you're bright enough to make a LinkedIn connection with even half the mentors that have spent time with you over the weekend, that is a very, very valuable resource to you. You've got people with incredible experience and talents who are a 15-minute walk away from anywhere you might be in the city, who've got a track record of being interested in and helping early stage businesses at the idea stage, or as they get onto the runway and off and up into the air. There are people who love to help. And that's a pretty special thing. It's harder to do that in London or any of the bigger cities. So I'd encourage you to think, if you're going to do this, either now, next, or one day, do it here. Can I get an amen? I'm going to have a drink. I've no idea how long I've been talking for. I'm going to wrap up in a minute. I was reflecting when I was first asked to do this talk. I was like, oh yeah, okay. I've been to like all the Sync the City events, so like I've seen this equivalent talk like 4 times. So, like, what was I saw Jason Heavens do one. Neil, one of the judges, he's definitely done one. Haley, one of the mentors, she's done one. Like, what were they talking about? And I was like, I can't bloody remember. Because I was knackered. Nothing at all. I'm so sorry. Don't be offended. But I was so bloody knackered. It just sort of all flowed over me. I'm probably flowing over you now, but here we are. I'm going to come to a conclusion. There is no right time or place or personality type associated with starting a business. Yeah, I've described the package that's sitting in front of you, but each and every one of you could do it. There is no average. There is no normal. If you want to do it, and you get the right team around you, you can do it. There's no right time as well. Maybe the time is never. It doesn't really matter. If what you take from this thing is not that one day you go on to start a business, but that one day when someone says to you at your place of work, hey, look, we want you to help. We want you to think about developing a new product to go on our product line. We need you to put a new team together, or we need you to go and think about study on. We've got this problem here. We don't know how to solve it. Go and put an answer and a solution in place for that problem. I really hope that you draw on some of the things that we've been doing here over the last few days to give you some confidence to attack any of those challenges, and a sense that you really can resolve against any problem that you encounter. And so, my final thought is like, whenever or whatever, however it comes. Ooh, having a whip round. Whenever your moment comes, be as ready as you can be. And that means just keep working on these little muscles of the mind that you've been working on so hard this last couple of days. Keep thinking and practicing and taking opportunities, grabbing those opportunities to think and learn and reflect. And who knows, one day it will be your time to make it all happen. Enjoy finding out who won this crazy show. I want to thank you all for what you've put into it. And let's give ourselves a round of applause, eh?